everybody. Welcome to everyone who is logging in on Facebook and on YouTube. Welcome back. We're here with another episode of the Between Girlfriends Book Club. I am Melissa Bale, and I am founder of the Love Me More organization, which is a nonprofit women's empowerment organization. And our Between Girlfriends Book Club is just one division in which we operate in. And before I go on, I do want the ladies to introduce themselves. But if you are hearing me now, if you can please like the link, if you can tag someone, tag your best girlfriend in the comments. We have been fired up since we started this thing. We are on week 3 and it's getting juicier. Okay, so please tag your best girlfriend, share it on your social medias, and let's get as many women or men, because we had men on here last week, because listen, we got word for everybody. We can share for everybody. All right, get them on in here. Ladies, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kavina Cropper, Creative Woman Gather. You know, the mom of 3. So I'm here, y'all, tonight.
Hi, I'm Sharia Andrews, owner of Taylor's Construction, etc. And I'm here tonight and I'm excited to share the news of Deborah.
Yes, girl. We missed Sharia last week, y'all. She was sick, but she's back.
Yes, I'm back in the building.
She is. Now we are missing somebody. All right, Ashley is not here with us. We mentioned last week, she shared a little bit of her story and how she is in this transition. She is moving and she is not here. She's not on tonight because she was actually driving to Tennessee and she was due to get there this afternoon. So we are hoping and praying, as we did earlier this morning, that she made it there safely with her daughter. And her family who was helping her out, but she should be back. Hopefully she'll be back next week because we miss her too. Hi Lenora, thank you for watching. We see you are on YouTube. So as I said, this is your time. I'm actually going to get on my phone real quick and I am going to like it myself. I'm going to hit some people up to in the comments so that they can also come on in. We are talking about some serious stuff and we need to get all the women involved. If there's some ladies you remember who were in last week, make sure you tag them on in here so that they can join. Let me see. All right. So anywho, I want to do a quick little recap of last week. And I'm not going to say too much because if you did not see last week, you really need to go back and watch the replay. We have been trying to get through 2 a week. And it just hasn't panned out that way. This is a very small read. And for those of you who are new, and maybe not know what it is that we are covering, I'm trying not to get it. We are covering the Deborah anointing. This book was written by Michelle McLean Walters. And this is really about calling women, and as we said last week, because we had men tuning in, and men, to a call of action. We are speaking to the leader that is down on the inside of you. And we are living in times where we need to rise, stand, and be established. And that's what this is about. So I always say, I'm like, there's a lot of naysayers in this world. I always tell you, keep your stuff to yourself. You got something you want to do, don't tell nobody. Because people will ruin your dreams. They will ruin your dreams. All right. It's like there's a lot of naysayers, but we are the yay sayers. All right. So last week was really powerful. And we talked about the different seasons. And we correlated with the seasons as winter, fall, spring, and summer. And we talked about what we should be doing in each season physically as we should be doing spiritually, right? And we talked about, things that frustrate us in life. It's like, we get frustrated when we put our hand to something and we don't see the fruit of our labor. And it's like, well, I've been sowing, but I'm not reaping what I thought I should be reaping, or nothing is coming up. And we expose and we bring light to each season and what we should be doing in each season. And we really kind of hunkered down on the spring season, because that's the season that we're in. We are in spring. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm enjoying this weather. We was at the park yesterday and everything, y'all. It was nice. Nice. But we talked about this season being the season of embracing the call. Okay, embracing the call, but also planting. This is the season to plant. So as we are embracing what we are called to this season, we are starting to plant seeds. Now, we all know you plant a seed today, don't mean that thing's going to sprout up tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. We know that we have to have our times of planting and attending to. We're getting our soil ready. We getting our seeds in hand. We doing the work. But we know that we can expect a harvest in the fall. So those are some things that we talked about. So please go back, listen to part 2. We go in very big detail, but I promise that thing is going to eliminate a lot of our frustration that we be having, and it'll cancel out when we're like, well, maybe I wasn't called to it. No, you just did it in the wrong season, and that's okay, because we all done that. I've done many other things in the wrong season, and then want to be mad because I'm not reaping now. Like, where is my harvest? Where is my harvest?
I wish I was on last week.
Yes, I'm like, why everything dead? Like, I want to say hello. I see Stacy Fountain is on. Hi, Stacy. Thank you for joining. I know Lenore, I believe we said hey to you as well. I was like, we see the comments. So if you comment, we shouting you out. I was like, so as I said, as you're logging in, share this with your best girlfriend, tag some people in it. Okay. So today, we are starting off in chapter 2, right? And there is a story that I want to read. And when we do these things, it really is girl talk for us. We get on here. What they say to you? I'm gonna tell you what it said to me. That's how we go back and forth, right? But this thing right here, I really want to read, because this was a moment where she shares some hurt. And that's what we're going to be talking about. A portion of what we're talking about today is how those things that have hurt us, that has humiliated us, that caused this pain, was literally a defining moment to what we were actually called to do. Okay. So let me read this real quick. All right. She says, I have a confession to make. My name is Michelle McLean Walters, and I hated, now it is ED, it's not I hate, right? Listen, we honest up in here. Y'all gonna get the real and the raw up in here. The real, the raw, the relatable. That's what we do. Okay, so I say, and I hated women's ministry. There. I got it off my chest. I know hate is a strong word, but my first experience with women's ministry was something out of a horror movie. Now, she's talking about women's ministry, and she's comparing it to a horror movie. I don't even watch horror movies. I don't like the way it makes me feel on the inside. I don't like that stuff. I don't like the music. I don't like the darkness of it. I don't like it, right? So she says, I was attending a women's prayer conference, and the women were yelling at the top of their voices as if someone was stabbing them repeatedly. One person took the microphone and began to yell, run. I said, run. You better run for your breakthrough. And you would have thought we were at the starting line of the Boston Marathon. Women took off running in every direction. I stood there like a deer in headlights, afraid I might get trampled. Then the lady with the the microphone, looked at me with a sharp, disapproving glare and said, some people think they too cute to run. Oh, is this what we do with the microphone? Okay, wait. All right, so she says, they're afraid of messing up their hair or makeup. She said, I said to myself, not to the lady, I said to myself, No, lady, I'm afraid of you. And I'm in shock because I can't find anywhere in the Bible that running will give you a breakthrough. Mm-hmm. You know what happened next? She marched right over to me like a fire-breathing dragon and said, kneel before the Lord as a sign of humility. Now, I'm not even going to say nothing there because I know, listen, that wasn't the Lord. But anyway, I kept thinking to myself, you should have just grabbed your stuff and run with the rest of the women, but detoured straight out of the door. While down there on my knees. So she actually did it. Exactly, right? Craziness, Stacy. That's what I said. Yeah. While down there on my knees, I said, Lord, I came here because I needed some answers from my life and deliverance from this pain in my soul, not for this tomfoolery. When I felt that the coast was clear and her focus was on someone else, I slowly got up off the floor. And as I was gathering my things to leave, I heard the Lord say to me, the things that irritate you, now listen to this, the things that irritate you are the things you are designed to change. That means it's in your makeup. You were designed, it's in your makeup. You can't get away from it, all right? It's going to irritate you. It's going to frustrate you until you open your mouth about it, until you start putting hands on the plow to change it, right? She said, the things that irritate you are the things you are designed to change. There will come a day when you will bring wise counsel and deliverance to women worldwide. And that is actually what she does. The author of this book, Michelle McLean Walters, she operates heavily within women's ministry. So that was the first thing. I'm sure it wasn't the first, and it probably was the first, but probably not the last. It was not the last time she probably encountered something like that to where she was just like, oh, this can't be. This can't be, because sometimes we will be faced with something so much until we just like, I got to start something, because I got to show people what it really supposed to. Exactly, until you face it. Thank you, Lenora. Until you face it. And that's what she had to do. And she makes this comment in here. She says, many times the Lord will bring identification, where we are able to identify. Many times the Lord will bring identification and definition to the call on your life in the midst of your humiliation and pain. Boy, he was humiliated. Come on. And I'm sitting here like, and I know my mouth. Even saved, I know my mouth. Okay? I'm like, you telling me to bow down to you? What, Lord? Listen, Kavina. So when we started reading this, right, you was like, when I talked about women's ministry, I need you to talk, girl. I need you to talk, girl. Share, ma'am. Share, Miss Ma'am.
So, I mean, I've had several situations that have happened to me. I think one time, and this wasn't a women's ministry per se, but just the church experience.
Yes.
So it was, I remember coming to, like, I was in a place in my life where I really just like wanted to be surrounded by the people of God, right? So I'm going to church a lot more. And this one particular church I go to, now my kids are younger. So my daughter, she probably was like 5 or 6 or something. And, I'm carrying my 2 twins in the car seat.
You're already at 7.
And so the kids, I come in, and the usher, she sits me in this back area as if like this is where I was belonging, but it was all this room all the way up here. Like I just was confused. Yes. And so that did something to me. And I started noticing that this was like, oh, this is a thing. Like with people and their kids, you keep them in a certain position or place in this thing. And so not knowing who I was and who I was attached to, but when she found out who my dad was, it was like,
oh, you could go here and up there.
That's why you don't do stuff like that. And that did a burning in my heart, because how many other people go through things like that? And I know it may not seem big to somebody, but everybody deserves respect.
Right. Yay.
I feel like, well, what about that person that didn't have someone in a leadership position?
Right.
Do you treat them like that? No, we treat each other because she's a single parent or he's a single parent. No, come to the altar. Come to the front. Don't chase people out because they have their kids, and be helpful. But then I also had this one thing. I think I really don't get into women's ministry because I have yet to get into a conference that wasn't centered around heels and crowns and we're all pink and like dealing with a lot of surface stuff, external stuff. When I tell you my desire.
Well, I was going to say, what do you mean by hills and crowns? Can you break that down?
Okay, so a lot of women ministries or where they do like the conferences, they have themes. Themes to the conference. So come in your all army fatigue, or come in your heels and your crowns, or make sure you wear all pink, and like it stems off the back surface, like external. And if I'm desperate and I'm in need of like deliverance, or I'm struggling mentally and emotionally, I'm thinking like I just want to come and show up. It's hard for me to just show up. Mm-hmm. Now I gotta find some pearls and I gotta find some heels. I gotta find a crown.
Love it. Stop, because you know what? As you're talking, I'm like, listen, if there is anybody in here who trying to lead some type of conference, please listen to what she's saying, because she's not gonna be the only one that says that. Yeah, you may have a group that's like, oh my God, yes, that's cute. But who are we trying to reach here, right? And for her to say that, I'm like, that's a very good thing to stay open-minded about. So I hope anybody who is planning anything, please listen to her, because I'm sure there's a lot of women who feel like that. So keep it open. Like, keep that open. And it's funny because I remember when we first talked about this, and I read this portion. This is before we even got into the whole study. But this chapter 2 really touched my heart, because I'm like, man, she shared something that was a wrong moment, an embarrassing moment, a humiliating moment. Like, yo, they just called me out in front of all these people, and this is why I came here, and for her to share that, I'm like, we need to talk about this, because the fact of the matter is that church hurt is real. We're not doing the church thing because we got to make this thing relatable. With world events, but we have to talk about this portion, because church hurt is real. And it's not God hurt, it's people. I'm like, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, some of y'all might get offended at what I'm about to say. And I'm sorry ahead of time, but we talk about what we identify as, I was like, this is big thing I identify. Well, I don't like to identify as Christian now, because we have made a bad name for it. Now you want to call me something, call me kingdom citizen. Don't call me nothing else.
Oh God.
I'm with that Christian word. Now people looking at me like, oh, y'all the hypocrites. No, I'm a kingdom citizen. We are different. We operate different. Like,
come on, that's real.
I'm open with my stuff, So I feel like, it's not God hurt, it is church hurt. And she was just talking. And the thing is, we all know, like, people get hurt by the church, they out. Bye. See, I want nothing to do with it, right? And some people leave because it's like, this soil is not the best ground, and what y'all watering, I'm not growing from. So I'm saying goodbye to the people, but I'm going to a place that's going to help me with my elevation, right? And it's not to say anything bad. This was good for the season that I was in, but now I'm in an elevated season, and I got to go to an elevated place so I can become higher, right?
Come on.
And it's not that I'm saying goodbye to God. I'm just saying goodbye to you. And not even really goodbye. Hopefully I can see you later. But now what we're seeing, what's happening in the church is, you don't belong here. I don't mess with you. I don't want to talk to you. You're not part of the group no more. You're not cool no more. Like, when did we become this sorority? Like, when
ever happened to you, Melissa?
Did it? Because can I shout any more about it?
What did you do? What did you do with the people that probably was like, okay, well, we don't want to talk to you no more? What did you do?
I'm just like, okay, you know what? The thing is, for me was, it's more of a, I have a genuine heart. Like, I was like, I grew up Pentecostal, right? But I'm non-denominational, because when I grew up, we were taught Pentecostal stuck with Pentecostals, right? That's what you did. You ain't allowed to, don't be hanging around no Methodist people. Don't be hanging around no bad. And at the end of the day, that's not even in. All these different denominations are man-made. Oh my gosh, listen, we're not going to get on this topic, y'all, because that's not what we had. I told y'all.
Let him lead you. Let him lead you.
Y'all don't even understand. I told the lady.
What's the tea?
Okay, look at both of us.
We met at 6:30. I was like, we all need to get on at 6:30 because we need to have our own little individual powwow, right? I said, Kalina asked me, Melissa, you all right? I'm like, I don't even know. I don't feel like I'm okay. And I was like, I'm fired up. And she's like, okay. And then she goes like, well, what do you mean? Is that good fired up or bad fired up? I was like, I don't know because I know how hype I can get. I don't know if it's going to be a good thing, if it's going to be a bad thing, but I'm fired up. I'm fired up.
We're irritated.
Yes. And I'm like, there are things that I'm seeing in the world that should not be happening with all these people who are claiming to be Christians. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm like, we are losing, y'all. Like, I'm tired. We losing the battle, y'all. Y'all can see this. I mean, I hear people talking about praying and they're telling God, come do this. God, that's what we're here for. Why are you telling him to do this, that, the other when he wants to use us? She didn't say, oh, God, go start a women's ministry that's not going to be offensive. That no. He was like, that's what I designed you for. And a lot of things that we are designed for, we are not doing. And then we sitting here waiting. I'm going to pray for it. Well, I'm going to need you to do more than prayer.
Or complain about it. Or complain about it.
I mean, if you really want to get into the word, we know that prayer don't work unless you got faith. And we also know that faith don't work unless you got work. So that tells me that my prayer requires my work. But that's not even what we're talking about, right? You know what I said? I need y'all to go back. Get me out of here.
Will it back.
Because it's just so much. And I'm like, I am fired up. Like, I know I'm a Deborah. And if you are following this series, there are things that are going to touch you, that's going to irritate you. It's going to spring up a level of passion that, no, what is we doing? Right? And yeah, so I have been there. I have been there in church buildings, and especially if you do anything, business wise, because I've consulted and, whatever it is, we are the body. Okay. That's it. We are the body. Leave all that other mess alone. We're supposed to be this family. We're supposed to be the called. All this other denomination that was made by man, that actually was made by the enemy to actually bring division to the body. We ate it up. We fell for the trap. So I don't identify as anything other than kingdom citizen. And that's it. I'm sorry people offended because I don't want no. Exactly. He gave us power and authority. Yes, Stacey. Like, we got stuff we got to do. There is so much going on.
She is fired up.
Because I am. There's things that it sparks my passion. And when I read things like this and I read people having the experiences, this is why Love Me More exists. Love Me More exists is because I knew God was calling me to create something where literally all were welcome. I'm gonna give a quick, I just gotta share this what happened right at our last meeting. So we have, I don't care what you believe. You are absolutely welcome. Now, we say that in other places. I'm not going to say that starts with a C and ends with an H, but I'm not going to say the word, right? All right. It's like, right? Okay. We say it. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to leave that alone. This was the reason why I knew when God was when he was putting in me to do Love Me More, it needed to be a safe place where all were really welcome. Beyond what you believe. At our last meeting, right, there was a woman who she was sharing. We were doing the second portion of our vision board, right, and we were in the planting phase, right. So we did the planting in January. We came together in March, and we started the planting phase, right. So now I use words. Listen, I know biblical truths, and they absolutely work, okay, and I put them to work in everything that I do. So as we were doing this workshop, I was putting it to work in what we were doing, right? Mm-hmm. This woman, she believes in something else. She believes in the moon water. I think it's what they're calling New Age, all that stuff, right? So she believes in the moon water, and you do these different things when you walk into the house and you throw the salt and you put this. If you want money, you got to throw this over here and that. Okay, and she shared that with us, and I was like, oh, interesting. I didn't say, oh, you wrong, you're going to hell for that. Like, oh, I didn't, that was her belief. And I understand that there is a time and a place for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I made her feel welcome, and not just me. Everybody else who was there, she shared it. She shared her beliefs to everybody. We were just like, oh, okay, interesting. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Da, 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 da. She started picking out. She started picking out parallels, like things that we do that they are trying to adopt. And she was like, oh yeah, we kind of do something like that. We do. Okay, interesting. But at the end of the day, she hugged me. When we were done, she hugged me. She thanked me for what? For making her feel welcome. And as of the other day, I got a text message that at our next event, she had invited one of her family members. What? Oh, because I didn't hang her from the cross. Oh, because I didn't be like, oh, we got to stone you. No. And that's why we operate as a nonprofit, because this really is ministry. This is about being in the streets. I'm not trying to tell you, go to this church, go to that. No. I'm coming to you, and those who are with me, we are coming to you, and we are going to fill the need. Okay, whatever we can within our power. And we're going to operate within compassion. And we're going, that's what I'm saying. Like, when I'm talking about we operate as Deborah, we already operating as Deborah. She's just bringing it to us. All right. So that was what we needed. And that's what fueled me. What fueled me was I needed, even though I didn't want it, but I know that I needed community. And I needed community where I wasn't shut up in a building. I needed community where I was able to mesh with others. Okay. I knew, and I always say, I'm like, listen, I'm a woman of the street. That's what I've been called to. So I'm not trying to, everybody's like, oh, come in. No. I can't be enclosed behind your building. I am in the streets. That's where I go. Exactly. Ministry is about loving people right where they are. It is not conditional. Well, if you do this, no. It is loving people right where they are. Yes. Thank you, Stacy. And so I know, because of my experience and what I went through, he was calling me to do something that was different from what people had been experiencing. The same as her. Sharia, you got to share with us. What is something with you that you went through that was painful, that was humiliating, that was hurtful, that defined, and who you are and the things that are in you? Yeah, but exactly. You cannot box me in either. That's what I'm talking about. I'm like, you better ripping the stuff. You better get off of this. Come on, share, girl. Share with us.
Okay, so that resonated with me when she said the things that irritate you are the things that you are designed to change. Because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of things irritate me. I have a low tolerance, but this is something personal that really stayed with me. So it was a personal experience. As a young child, I was a stepchild. My mother and my father, they wasn't together. So once my mother got married, it seemed like it was like a separation from my father. Like, okay, I'm married now. This is the new man in my life. Separation from my father.
Yes.
That his side of the family, and now it's just, this new man. As I see, like, okay, this is a new man. It's your man, but it's a new man to me. And I didn't like it. I didn't like being a stepchild. I didn't even know what a stepchild was, right? I just knew I was a stepchild, right? And also, I really didn't have a good relationship with my father, as it should have been. So I didn't like the environment that I was in. It was unhealthy. It was a lot of verbal abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse. And, I feel like they didn't know what they were doing either. They didn't know how to step parent either. They didn't know how to co-parent together either, right? So now, years later, 20 years later, I got married. And guess what? Now I'm a stepmom, right?
Yes.
And I was like, the things that I went through that, nobody else understood, because my mom couldn't understand, my mom's husband couldn't understand, because I'm the stepchild. They're not the stepchild. They didn't know the feelings that I was going through. They didn't know the first thing to make this thing work, right? So I met my husband, and I said, I don't want nobody with no kids, because I'm not going through. I don't feel like dealing with this. This is too much work. It's too much work. And that irritated me, right? I don't want to mess with him. He got a child, right? But it was like, okay, if I pass up this one, I was like, wait, I can't let this one go. You might have to make some adjustments, right? So I had to weigh my options, right? So I became a stepmom, and it was just it was, for me, it was a breeze, because all the things that I went through and that irritated me, I could identify what God was doing in my life at that time. I didn't know at that time, but as an adult, and once I, had my family, it taught me how to be a step parent, a nurturing step parent. It taught me how to identify with his needs. It taught me not what to do and what to do
Yes.
as a step parent. And to be honest with you, my husband had both of his parents, so he didn't know what to do because he didn't have that experience.
Yeah.
And my friends around me, the people around me, they're like, why are you so, like, he called you mom? I didn't force him to call you mom. It was the nurturing mother in me, like, okay, like,
Yes.
he does the same thing. And then we didn't exclude his mother because that's his mom, because that's what had happened to me. No, that's an awful feeling. No, you're a part of, if I'm helping him, if I love him, then I gotta love you too.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's just, I thank God for that experience. I didn't understand. Like, it was some stuff I went through, but he was preparing me for what I'm going through now. What I'm doing now.
Yes. That is so big. Okay, let me tell you something, right? Because you said I didn't understand then.
No,
But it
I
was
did not. I
preparing
said, why me?
yes, I'll be doing that. Oh, we all do that. I'm
What
like,
is
we all
this?
do that. But I feel like that is so important because you took ownership of it, saying, no, it was for me for now. Because people are so quick to say, like, oh, what you're going through, it's not for you, it's for somebody else. No, it is for you. It is growing you, it is stretching you, it is defining you. And if you get to help somebody later, yes, but it is all for you first. And we don't understand it in the moment. And we can feel, why am I going through this? Why did this? We can feel that. But then we see, and I love that because you took, and this is what's very big, people talk about um generational curses and this, that, the other. And they're like, oh, we're gonna pray. You got to do more than pray against that thing. Okay. You got to have action. As I'm saying, listen, prayer, faith, action. It all works together. So if you want to say you want to pray against something, but you're not trying to change nothing, then you're not doing anything. And you are not doing anything. And you took what you went through in your childhood and you didn't say, this is what life is going to be like for my children. You said, I know what I went through and I'm not imposing that on anybody else. We're going to change the narrative up in here.
Exactly.
Right? We're going to change the narrative. And that's what's so important. The things that we are called, the things that irritate us, that hurt us, that humiliate us, that cause us pain, we are called to change. When we going to get sick enough? That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. And you can miss your blessing in that because it's like a lot of layers, right? So if I'm like, if I'm scoring from my childhood on exactly what she said in the book. Yes, if I'm scoring on what happened to me in my childhood, now it's creating fear in me, right?
Yes.
I don't want to mess with nobody with no kids, right?
Yes.
But if I would have stuck with that mentality, like I said, I would never have met my husband.
Yes.
And that's a whole nother story.
Yes.
That's a whole nother story that God had laid another experience of, you know what, I went through that for that.
Yes.
So the fear, I had to let go of that fear because God is in me and he's going to, it's for a purpose. It's for a purpose. You got to believe and you got to have faith, like you said.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's so good. I want to get into some of the things that she says in the book because, like I said, it's very short. These things are like 2-3 chapters, but it's so dense, and it is so we just can't we can't skip over things. But there is a portion. I mean, y'all, if y'all see my book, I got all different colors of highlights and pinned, underlined because it's just so much. And I'm like, okay, what's going to stick out? What's going to stick out? But I like this one thing where it says that modern day Deborahs will have an anointing. In other words, like an ability. All right. So we've been set aside for this, an ability to rise in the midst of great adversity and lead others to liberty and freedom. It says many women are in bondage to fear, deception, insecurities, because that's a big one, and pain that keep them from moving into the fullness of life that has been promised to them. Modern day oppressors are ungodly beliefs about how God can't use women in high level ministry or in business. And we see this in the world today. And it says, even still, even with all that, even still, the enemies that we face are more internal than external. And that's how I was like, oh, so I'm the problem. That's what you're telling me. What I just read, I was the problem. I'm the problem here, right? And these are things that we absolutely have to deal with. And how do we deal with these things? How do we deal with these things? And I'm like, first and foremost, I'm going to share, like, as Deborah's, we are called to lead. And we talked about this, I think, in the first time, whether it's in our homes, whether it's in the community, whether it's in the job, whether it's in the business, whether it's in the school, whether it's in the government, wherever it is, there is an area of influence that belongs to each and every one of us. And we need to identify that. We need to identify that. And when we come, we can't come softly. You know what I'm saying? And it's not because of people we're going to encounter. It's because of what's in here that we're going to encounter. Like, we got to come hard because of ourselves, because of the internal enemy. All right. Where we may feel inadequate, where we may feel we're not ready, or I'm not called, or let somebody else do it, or I don't know, it's too much for me, or I don't even know how to do this, or we battle with our own before external can even get a say so. Before the external can even get a say so, we done talked ourselves out of it. Ourselves out of it.
Melissa, what page was that?
That was on page 21.
Okay.
And then just at the bottom, it talks about how there are Deborah that, how God is calling women with the Deborah anointing to disciple women or teach women is really, I want to kind of change up these words because I want everybody to understand what it is that we're saying. But also to help them develop skills that make sound decisions. Removing the misconception and the insecurity guided judgments we place on one another. All right. She goes on to talk about how Deborah was great at settling disputes. She was able to administer sound counsel. She was one who practiced justice. And she says, justice is making wrong things right. So we know her as a judge, but we judge every single day. Like, I got kids, I got the judge in between. You know what I mean? I got to lay down laws and edicts and stuff all up in this house every day. Every day. But it's about, justice is about making wrong things right. She talks about how she had compassion for people, right? And you can't be a Deborah if you do not have compassion for people. And I wrote the question, where is the compassion? And the reason why was because just something as simple as this. So my daughter, who's 8 years old, she's in school, at the elementary school. And she got rug burn. Now, you know what rug burn looks like. You don't see it right away sometimes, right? And so she got rug burn, and she went to tell, it wasn't her teacher, because I do love her teachers. I will say, because they were great. I do love her teachers, but she had an experience with someone else, and she tried to tell them, like, she was hurt, like her knee was really hurt, and she was like, oh, it was hard for me to walk, and she was like, I'm hurt, and she was like, get up, write that to her. And she's like, but it hurts for me to get up. Like, no, I have rug burn. She was like, you're fine. You'll be okay. And was just being completely dismissive, right? And listen, I grew up like that. Like, get up, you all right. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a little bit of blood, put some spit on it. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up like that, right? But I don't mother like that. There's a whole lot. I don't mother like that. Because when I looked at it deeper, I'm like, wow. In that moment, and even if she really wasn't hurt, in that moment, she needed some type of attention. In that moment, she needed somebody to show her just that they cared, a little bit of compassion. And what she got was, get up, you'll be all right, basically. So she did ask to go to her school. When she came home, I was like, oh my God, like, what happened? Like, because I saw her whole knee was skinned and nothing was done to it. And she was like, oh, she said that I was complaining about minor things and that this was, I'm like, we don't get to do that. Like, what happened in this world that when somebody feels a certain type of way about something, we diminish it like, oh, that's ridiculous that you feel that. No, we don't get to say that to somebody else's feelings. We don't get to say, okay, maybe it's big for you and it isn't for me, but I should care enough and I should be compassionate enough to be like, dang, like, at least let me hear you out.
Yeah.
Let me at least, listen, because she talks about here that when we listen to people, we are restoring value to the person. So that tells me that when I dismiss you, I'm also removing bits and pieces of your value. When I dismiss you, I'm removing bits and pieces of your value. So here I have an 8-year-old daughter who felt unattended to, because even when she did get to the nurse, she's like, what is it? Oh, you're fine. Da-da-da. It's always, and I'm like, why are we being so dismissive? And yes, right now, it may be a little thing, right? But how do I know that in 5 years, she wasn't just taught just to keep those feelings on the inside because it's going to be dismissed anyway? Because you're not going to want to hear it anyway. You're not going to want to see, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, where is the compassion? And that was just something small. Like, I mean, that's just like a small example, but it made me sit back and think like, well, why are they dismissing your feelings? Like, that's not okay in my book. Like, I know what it's like to have my feelings dismissed. I don't want you having your feelings dismissed, right? So she says that with operating as a Deborah, so we will learn how to spend time with people and minister with compassion to their plights. It talks about how these women will have strong leadership skills, motivated by the heart of a servant. It says she wasn't fancy in a tent. She was right in the elements with the people. And that's a big deal for me, because we see a lot of this, I'm untouchable, right? Don't touch me. Don't get close to me. I got my whole security team around me. Don't get too close. You know what I mean? Like, what? Jesus was touched. He was squeezed. Like, everybody was like, I mean, you couldn't even walk through. Like, you couldn't, you was trying to jump over people trying to get to him. What do you mean? What do you mean we're not amongst the people?
Yeah, that's good, Melissa. That's good. He's the ultimate example of servanthood, okay? Like, so when we go out here and we get, or I'm not going to say we, because I think we're a little bit different, but when people get these titles and just believe like, oh, you owe me something. No, what it is leadership equals people and not a crown.
Yay!
You get that later. You get that stuff later. Worry about that stuff. Leadership equals people, and we have to be focused on connecting and that compassion with people, developing intimate relationships with people, like really caring for them. So when you call me, you text me, and I ask you how you doing, you can be like, for real, I'm not really doing well. And you don't got to do that surface stuff like, you know what, I'm good, I'm fine. And you're not.
Yes.
Because you experience this level of compassion with me, and you're like, I can talk to you. And a lot of people aren't doing that. And that's why you see people just holding things in, struggling, walking day to day in their jobs, at home, just bottling it in. But as a leader, you are called to be compassionate towards the people. Why?
And be with the people.
Come on. Simply because your father has been compassionate to you.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. I love that. And that's, I'm like, when she said, and listen, because I'm dealing with listen, when y'all read this book, y'all deal with your own little things, right? I'm dealing with my little things too, okay? So I have to remind myself of the things that irritate me, okay? This may not irritate y'all, but it irritates me. And what really, when she says she was not, we're talking about a judge. Right. And if we look at a judge now with their robes and, and you all this, that, the other. No, this woman was a judge. She judged the people. She led the people. She was of prominence. Okay. She was up here. She really was up here. She really was up here. But it says she wasn't in a fancy tent. She was right in the elements with the people. And I put, she wasn't trying to be a celebrity. Now, look, like I said, I'm gonna talk about things that irritate me, okay? Irritate you, but there's somebody out there like me who feels this, and I just want to say, I'm with you, girl, because this whole thing, and as I said, I'm not, it's the word that starts with ch and ends with ch, okay? We see certain leaders who want to operate like celebrities, and I'm like, what? And they're untouchable, and no, you got the whole thing twisted.
Right.
You got the whole thing twisted. You got to bring it back. I mean, I don't know where you got the manual from, but there is a manual I'm going to introduce you to. Okay, it's called the New Testament, right? I'm not gonna go there. But this is what I like. I'm like, but that's who she was. She operated still in humility, understanding that her knowledge really wasn't her knowledge, that her wisdom really wasn't her wisdom, that everything that she was decreeing and declaring, it wasn't because of her. It was because there was a higher power, and she honored higher power. Okay, so it talks about her being a servant leader, and it says this. So if you are a Deborah, yes. Look, I'm sorry. I'm reading comments over here that ain't pop up there yet. And I'm like, yes, Lenora, I'm trying to calm down. Don't fire me up more, girl. Don't fire me up. You see I'm trying to calm down. She said the red bottom. Thank you. So it says, let's talk about what a servant leader is, right? Not a taskmaster.
Come on.
It says she was a servant leader. So what is a servant leader? So when everybody, thank you, Stacy. Yes, Miss Ma'am. Okay. When everybody talk about leadership, we need to be careful as to what leader we are, quote unquote, submitting under, because those are church words. I'm gonna go ahead and throw them out there. All right. We want to be careful, right? Because if you're not seeing this, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Unless you want me to. I'm gonna say be careful with manipulation. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. Okay. So the servant leader will seek to serve God's people, not for God's people to serve them and their agenda. She said their, T-H-E-I-R. Not T-H-E-R-E. T-H-E-I-R agenda, their personal agenda. Well, now it's about me, where you serve me. Okay, where it fits you to serve me. I'm not even gonna get into it because people gonna get upset with me and they probably gonna block and ban me. Renee, I know we said we don't own the rights to this music, but some of y'all might need the right. We don't own the right to these opinions. Okay. So it says servant leaders are interested in the growth and well-being of people. Okay. In no way they are not self-centered. They are not worried about themselves. They are not trying to recruit people to serve them and fill up their pockets and fill up their bank accounts and fill up their gas tanks and fill. Okay? It says servant leaders are interested in the growth and well-being of people. They always serve first, leading from the conscious choice to give of themselves. They are not looking for somebody to give it to them. So that means if I am pouring into you, because that's another word, people like to use. If I am pouring into you, that doesn't mean you pour into my hand with your debit card or your credit card or your bank account. That does not mean that. Amen. That means that I am invested in you, and what I learned, I want to give to you so you can impact the next generation. Okay. Why are we charging the next generation or even our generation for the poor? That's all I want to know. Why? Okay. All right.
For the word. Why are you charging people for the word?
That's not your word. That's not your word. Okay.
We charging people for this?
Yes. Like, listen. Okay. And it says, I'm trying to calm down, y'all.
It's okay.
I'm trying to calm down. But these are the things that irritate me and fire me up because it's what I see. And there is no self-gratification. Exactly. And listen, I know I probably miss a lot of y'all comments, and ladies, please just shout them out because I get so fired up, but this is what I am passionate about. I'm passionate, number one, about the truth. I am passionate about the truth.
Does it make you free?
Yes.
Make you free.
Yes. And I have been quiet for too long. So yes. And we talk about we invading, right?
Come on.
We invading all platforms, right?
Come on.
We invading all platforms. All right. So listening to others will help restore value to people in our sphere. This is all under servant leadership. All of it under servant leadership. So when we are leading, right, it's not about what it's going to, oh, these people are going to be indebted to me. Oh, these people owe me. They're going to serve me. No, you are serving them. I am called to serve within Love Me More. I am called. This is why, and I'm telling you right now, I don't even got my whole servant. Yes, they are in self-captivity. Yes, ma'am. I don't even have my whole servant thing right. I say when it comes to leadership, because I will do it to the point where like, let me do everything and you just sit back and relax. Right. And that still ain't right.
Yeah. Right? I had to say something to you about it. Listen, I'm like, yeah, Melissa.
They be keeping up with me. They be keeping me accountable, right? But that's the big thing. When we are leading, it's not about who is serving us. We should be the light that leads to the greater light, right? We should be the ones who are serving. Like as leaders, I'm serving you. Where are you trying to get to? Let me give you a ride. Let me help you. What you trying to do? Let me put my 2 cents in here. Matter of fact, let me invest in you. Oh, you need a financial investment. Let me see how I can help you. You need to raise some money. Let me see how I can help you. It's not about me. It's not about me. And we have twisted this thing around where now we are serving these quote unquote leaders and leaving the real leader, the real master, right? So that's what we're not going to do, right? That's what we're not going to do, because that's what we talk about. We talk about stuff we're not going to do, because we are Deborahs. We are Deborahs, all right? There is, I'm trying to quickly get through this, because when she talks about being servant leaders, right? And we talked about it before, that we are called to lead the next generation. There was something that really had me fired up, and I was sharing this with the ladies because one of the things that I am very passionate about is education. I'm very big about my children's education, and I have been flip-flopping back and forth because there's things that I'm seeing in the public school districts that I do not like, and I don't know that I want my children to be entangled in that. And I have seriously been considering homeschooling. But then a person like me, who is a little bit more radical and likes to invade spaces, I'm just like, but then if I bring you here, what space are you invading? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to equip the next generation to invade. But are you in a place where you're able to lead and invade effectively where you're going to in that school district, right? And it's funny because we have, when we take this Deborah seat, right? And we take this seat of like, yep, this is the leadership. We are called to lead in areas that we are passionate about. We talk about what irritate us, what passionate about, what sparks hikes our blood pressure. Like, what are those things, right? And for me, it has been these children. And I was reading, and not just reading, I'm hoping that everybody has been aware of this, that as we're supposed to be awakening the next generation is over here having protests and silent protests with everything having to do with these gun laws because they don't feel safe going to school, right? So you have all these children, and it was like, when I mean children, it was like kids in pre-K along with their parents, and they did this peaceful protest. And they marched, and they were just like, listen, we're scared to go to school. We need better gun laws, right? And I know we can only say but so much before we get banned, right? Because we're not talking about political, this, that, the other, right? But I was looking at the kids, and I'm like, these are kids using their voices. These are kids at this age. The next generation is already using their voices. So what are we teaching them then? Because if they already one-upped us, like, we need to get on their thing. We need to be what they doing, right? But it's not just that, like, and that's what I mean. Like, it is not time. And that has been the biggest thing that has just been in my heart. Like, it is not time. And that's my thing, right? Your thing may be very different. You may stand for something so much more bigger or great, whatever. But my thing is this. It is not time for us to be quiet. it is not time for us to be nestled in our adorned houses, because that's the thing that keeps coming. Is it time for you to be up in your adorned houses while my house lays a ruin? But when we talk about house, we could talk about this house, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm housing something here, right? Should that be in ruins? You are housing something. Should that be in ruin? Or is it time to build? Is it time to speak? Is it time to rise? Is it time to stand? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we cannot rely on, well, so-and-so will do it. No, you're supposed to do it. You are supposed to do it too. You're supposed to do it too. So I feel very passionate. I'm like, we cannot be silent, literally. Whatever cause is rattling your feathers, okay, whatever it is, if you don't know, because sometimes like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to, well, we need to Google it. Like Google it, and it'll continuously lead you. I mean, I done got on different groups on Facebook that I signed up to for what I am passionate about, because I'm like, how can I effectively lead in this area? What can I do? How can I use my voice? How can I use my platform? Or how can I use, my area of influence to actually bring about change, or to partner, with someone else, so that we can loudly make some noise, so we can stomp a little harder, so we can stand a little stronger, right? So this is not the time, literally, for anything to be silent. Like, I am there because here you have these kids that are over here silently protesting about not going to school, because they listen, we want y'all to have laws in place that protect us. And then on the other side, you have Florida, who now just passed a bill where you don't need to have a permit to have a gun. So if you are a living, breathing human being, you can have a gun filled with bullets, and it is right. It is okay. We're not going to check you out. We're not going to see if you're stable mentally. We're not going to see if you have any issues in your past. We're not going to do that. Go along and carry, because, well, as they say, it's their constitutional right. A week to the day in which we just seen some more people die in the school in Tennessee. The fact that there has been, I think it's like 26 or 27 shootings in schools since January. We're only 4 months in. We're only 4 months in. We are just heading into April. How can that be? I was watching on World News, and there was another world leader saying, it's like, oh no, y'all don't have laws that protect you. But that's what the law's supposed to do. Right? So my thing is this. We like to gather. We like to call people to our gatherings. We need to gather other places. We need to start gathering at different meetings, not the meetings that's behind the doors. Y'all know what that I'm talking about. Not those meetings. Like, how about if we get everybody from those meetings, from our prayer meetings, from our church services? And why don't we go to a school board meeting? All of us who are gathering on Sundays and Wednesday nights, how about if all of us collectively go to a meeting where our voices can be heard? Okay, if you want to stop at the church first and pray and then go, then get there a little earlier and make sure you get to that meeting. But why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Because we've been called to agitate, not irritate. Agitate. In other words, we are called to make something happen. We're called to make something happen. And we can't do that behind closed doors. There is no more hiding. There is no more hiding. There is no more being quiet. There is so much more that we have been called to do. And for everybody, it's different. For everybody, it's different. I know my passion really is within education. I know it really, my passion is with women, empowering women, letting them know they have a voice. You need to use it. Guess what? I may not want to use mine. Shoot, when I was in my divorce, the first thing they said, come off all social media. So for me even to come back on, I was like, I like life without social media. It feels good. It feels freeing. But then when God was like, invade a territory, I'm like, well, can I invade another territory? I really don't want to do that. I really don't want to be out there, But that's what we were called to do. So I'm saying, like, listen, we have to lead. we have to lead, and it's not about people serving us. We need to serve the cause.
Mm-hmm.
We need to serve the cause. We are the ones called to be in a position to make certain. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So, ladies, y'all share. What are you passionate about? Because y'all, listen, I'll sit here and I'll keep going. What are those things that fire you up?
I don't know. I feel like I have like a lot of things that I'm passionate about, and I'm just, have to be, in tune with God so He can help me be strategic in dealing with which area of that's a priority right now. But I think I agree because I'm on the school board with.
I didn't want to put your business out there, but I know that you are because I was like, I need you to tap in on it. Thank you for saying it. Please.
All right, so I said it, but it's hard. It's hard. It's very hard. And you need that supernatural ability because myself is not enough. Like those times when I'm tired, I'm feeling like giving up. I don't see enough people like trying to invade along with you, because sometimes it gets like that where you like, well, where's the backup?
Yes.
The supernatural, that's the backup. The Holy Spirit, that's the backup. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to walk alone, and it's hard. So I have that area. I feel like you and I are somewhat in tune on the same things.
Yes.
Women issues, that's a thing for me. Especially dealing with single mothers.
Yes.
I have a lot of stuff on my heart.
Yes.
I'm learning how to co-parent effectively. Like that's a thing for me. I think Sharia, you know how that is as well. So there's a lot of areas, and even I feel like there's another area that's doing up now because I feel like it's all about your experience, like we talked about earlier, right? Mm-hmm. Things we go through. Sometimes we don't even know until we go through a thing that's the thing we're called to change.
Yes.
And so I'm looking at my daughter and the stuff I'm going through with her, my child. I'm like, okay. Seems like another area. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. You want to tell me how? So, because I know I'm not the only mother struggling with taking care of their child when they're going off the path.
Yes.
There's a room that needs to happen that we need to gather up. And okay, well, do we need some counseling? Do we need I don't know what strategic plan? God help us. We're going to seek you. And then we're going to put some things in place. Do we need to gather up the masses? Your community, that's important for your children. So it's a lot of things for me. But that's all I could come up with for right now.
That's a lot.
I know.
It is a lot.
I know.
That's a lot.
What you got, Sharia?
Well, I don't know. I'm still in the midst of finding my purpose because, like you said, I was on a mission. Like it was one thing, but like it's multiple things. So, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I feel like my strongest desire is the children, as far as in the family environment, because that's where it starts at before they walk out the door. Just trying and doing. Everybody thinks like, okay, well, we have to do the same thing like the way we were raised. Like, no, is every is a different generation, so things have to change, and we have to adapt to what's going on in this world today. Not saying we have to be conform of the way of the world, but it's a different style that we have to use so that they can hear us.
We need to be flexible.
Right. So that's just my biggest thing is the family.
I like that. And this is the other thing I want to throw out there is about what are you attracting? Like what? And I say this because I was saying this me and Brene were in conversation about this yesterday because I do have a heart for youth, and I always seem to attract teenagers, and not just because I have teenagers. But, I am like, you can come to my house.
Right.
In my house. Like, I mean, I don't like sending my kids other places,
Yeah.
There's only certain places. There is a handful of people that I will send my kids, like, they can go over. I'm funny about that stuff, okay?
Right.
And those women are the same as me. They feel the same way, know? But I have found that I attract not just youth, but youth who need.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
need that nurturing, that
Mhm.
loving, compassion, caring of a mother. And yesterday when we were at the park, it's funny. When we were at the park, and that's I was like, Lord, you keep bringing all these kids into my
Right.
life. Like I got four, right? But anyway, four. This girl, we were at the park with the kids, and this young lady, I mean, like she's about to be 17. She came up to me and she was like, "Hey, I know you." And I'm looking at, I had no idea who she was. She's like, "I know you." And I'm like, "Me?" And then I started thinking, I'm like, okay, maybe this is a student from one of the school districts that we did girl code at. I'm like, "You know me?" And she's like, "Yes." Da-da-da. And she's like, "Look at me, you don't remember me?" And I'm just like, and then she mentioned her mother's name, and I'm like, "Oh my God." Now, it has been years. Like, I'm talking about, I think Kaylin was 2, was about to be 13
Right.
month. The last time I saw her, like, she lived in our neighborhood. And she knew me, like, because she lived in the neighborhood, and her and my daughter are close in age, my daughter Ariana. So anyway, we get to talk, and I'm like, "How in the world?" She was like, "I recognized your voice." And listen, ladies, y'all better use that voice.
Right.
Girl, I'm sitting there laughing and cracking up with Kathy and Renee because we took the kids to the park, and she heard my voice and came over to where we were. And that's how loud I was. Now,
Yeah.
you know, the same area. She was
You
right.
got a very distinctive voice.
Yeah, Deborah, right? But anyway, so she, we just start talking, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, how are you? How's your sister? How's your brother? Like, how's your mom?" We're going through the whole thing, and amazed at that she's about to be 17. So
Mhm.
first, "Oh, so what do oh, you're gonna be a senior next year? You got any college plans?" Da, 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 da. We start talking, and I always say jokingly, but not jokingly, because I really mean this. I was like, "Yeah, well, Ariana, she'll be a senior next year," and I told her that if she stays local, she gets the car, because my oldest daughter went to New York. She don't get no car. You in
Right.
New York? You got New York. Go in New York. But I told her, I was like, "Girl, you stay home. You get
Right.
a car. You can go local. You drive whatever college you want to locally, right?" And so she was like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome." And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I got one at the house. I don't think I can handle two this close." Right. And she was like, she puts her head like immediately downcast. And she says, "I wish my mom," she's like, "Man, that must be nice." Like, she looked around, she's like, "That must be nice. I
Yeah.
wish my mom felt that way about me." And
Mhm.
that, like, we can say things, joke. No, she meant it. Like,
Yeah.
completely downcast. She put her head down. She was like, "My mom tells me that we need to leave now." Like, she was like, "I'm so sick of y'all. Like, I'm ready for y'all to leave now." And that
Right.
broke
Right.
my heart. And I just, like, immediately, I'm going into mommy mode. And
Right.
I'm loving her up and laughing and joking and, and, "Oh, are you going to prom? You better get to prom. You better,
Right.
and I was trying to change it around. But I'm just like, "Man, how do you remember me?" And
Because it's like I know that feeling, and it feels joy, and it brings joy to my heart because I was one of those girls. So that's why, like, that is my passion. That is my desire, right? So when you're young, right, you remember you don't know what's going on at that moment, right? Like, how is this person going to impact my life, right? But as you get older, you process things differently. And I can remember to this day, like, it was, we lived in, a poverty neighborhood, right? Like, nobody wants to come there, right? And these young ladies that was different nationalities don't know what's going on, right? Women, they were women, no men, like you said, Deborah's coming into our communities, right? No, nothing to protect them but God, right? The
Yes,
supernatural just coming so that we can hear the word of God. And it was called Kids Club, right? And that's today. I had to find that lady because she don't know. It was just small stuff that she did
yes,
that impacted my life as a child. Like, wow, she's
yes,
down here to see little old us. Like, she didn't have to do that. She could have been doing something, sitting on her
yes,
yacht or something. She didn't
yes,
have to worry about us, but she did, and I remember her 30 years later.
yes.
Her name's Sister Pat. Right.
Um,
It's like, and that just, it's like, I want to be like that. Like, I want to
yes,
touch people like that because you never know. Like, you could be a kid, like, you're in an environment. You think it's just these four corners of your environment. This is all it is. But when different people that are like, if I have more, okay, I just don't want to keep it all to myself. I want to share it. I want to show you that it's more out here, you know? And then like years in a lot, it's like, okay, if I wasn't introduced to that at that age, right? It impacted me. Just that small, her coming out, right? Telling us about God impacted me just to want to help others without question.
Yes.
It feels good to share, to bless someone else.
Yes. And that's, I feel like it's a big thing. Like, it's not just what we went through, but it's what we are attracting. And I find myself, I attract kids that need that motherly love, you know, that need, and I'm telling you right now, I feed everybody. You come up here, you gonna eat.
Yeah.
I feed everybody. You hungry? Yes, you is. You want a second plate? Here you go. And
Yes.
when we go out, I take everybody I can fit in my truck. They all legally. I'm gonna do it legally. I'm not gonna do the. I'm not. Everybody gotta have a seatbelt on. I don't play.
Right.
Oh my gosh! I was like, a friend of mine. She always teased me because, you know, Brielle was like, I don't play around Brielle in that car seat till the law says she in a car seat. I do not care. I don't care how big that girl is. You know. But I will bring everybody with me because I want them to experience.
Yes.
And also because it's not so much that if it's not in them. Some parents are burnt out.
Yes.
And I was like, and I have 4 kids, and I don't even have a co-parenting situation. And I was married. Okay. I was married. But, you know, when the marriage stopped, the relationship between father and child stopped for their reasoning. So, you know, something that, and I talk about this with Ashley, because, you know, she's so good. You know, she brings me back, you know, when I'm feeling overwhelmed. She helps me and she gives me great counsel in it. But my thing is that I know what it feels like to be burnt out.
Yes.
I know what it feels like to be a burnt out parent, especially if you're doing it alone, or maybe you didn't choose to because maybe you're raising your grandchildren, all right? And this is not what I signed up for, you know what I mean? And you can be just as tired and just as exhausted. So, you know, it's not just about those who aren't getting it. Maybe they're not getting it in the moment because they have a parent who is going through some stuff and they're having a hard time navigating through life. But at the end of the day, I'm like, Lord, then send them my way.
Right.
I got love to give. I got stability to give. Like, you know, I have it to give. So
and it don't just. I feel like people get like, you know, it don't have to just be like, okay, like it's a village. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't, okay, I don't, like, if you're tired, like, I can't raise my kids by myself, right? I don't want my kids to go nowhere either because it's just my reasonings, but it's much more than me.
Yes.
Right? It's much more than me and my kids. Like, if they can learn from the person on the street, but of course I'm going to check the person. But what I'm saying to you is, like, it's everybody, your community around you.
That's good. That's good. I've been talking. That's been coming up in a lot of conversation for me lately. Is community, and I told y'all know, like what I be going through with my kid, and so I just recently sent out a message to her village, like we need to meet next week.
Yes.
In the house, like all of us, because I need her to see like that her decisions are not impacting just me and herself.
Right.
Everybody in this room. And let me just make this really, really clear about community. Community is not just your family.
That's right.
It's other people that have influence, good influence, spiritual influence on your children. You don't have to be in that woe is me. I don't really have a community. Make one. Make a community.
Yes.
For your children, because it's necessary that you do not parent alone. And I have walked in that with all 3 of my children. So when I'm overwhelmed and I can't take it no more, I call the community. And I'm talking about we're having a meeting. Everybody in this living room, Mackenzie, we're gonna have a conversation.
Yes.
That's important.
And that's true. I just want to go into a couple of comments that we may have missed where Lenora said that, yes, it's the modern day style. And I know that's going back to when Sharia, when you were talking about how we have to adapt, you know, we have to figure out how we're going to do things now in the culture and with the people and the centuries in which we are living in. She also talked about, the book talks about bringing the mothering back to this generation. And that's the next chapter. Yes, it does, because we really do. We're going to talk about what it is to nurture. All right. And Stacy wrote, what you are anointed for is drawn to you. And yes, that is exactly. I'm like, what are you attracting? Yes, thank you, Stacey. I like the way you put that. It is. It's going to be drawn to you. So a lot of times we say things like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know. What is coming to you? What is in your face? What is irritating you? What is moving you and sparking compassion, or making you be passionate about something? It's one thing we can come on here and we can say it here on this live, but what's it going to do if that's where I stop? If that's where I stop, and maybe our movement isn't on such a large scale as these kids did, where they were marching the Capitol and singing and chanting silently, quietly, to show that we come in peace, but we also want to be heard. Maybe it's somewhere, maybe it's helping the kid in the neighborhood, maybe it's helping a woman that through something. I like in when she talked in here, because it was on page 25, where she says, God will give you supernatural wisdom for the person on your job who loves to come tell you about her problems, or that millionaire in your circle who doesn't know what to do about her schizophrenic child. She was talking about wisdom. All right. So maybe you didn't experience something, but you will receive a supernatural download that will allow you to assist in that time. And I was sharing with the ladies, we were laughing about it because I had recently went out to dinner with my father and my brother. And it's a place we like to frequent, they love their seafood and all that stuff, right? But there was no tables. And they were like, well, you can have a seat at the bar. And I was like, and my dad's like, you want to sit at the bar? I was like, sure, we'll sit at the bar. And we ordered dinner, we're sitting at the bar. And I was like, yeah, some people probably going to be like, oh, you was at the bar? Yes, I was. Yes, I was. But it gave me the opportunity to speak to the bartender. I'm natural. I'm like, hey, how are you? Oh, yeah, I have this. We put in our orders. And we start talking like motherhood. She has 2 children, young. Her husband is like a pilot and he's not home a lot. And, she would talk about her mother stuff. And we're sharing stories. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember I went through that. My daughter did da-da-da-da, because my kids are older. And we must have been there for like 2 hours, and we were back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then she comes up to me at the end before we're getting ready to leave. And she puts her hand on me. And she's just like, I am so sorry. I feel like I just dumped on you all night. She was like, but I feel so much better. Right? And I was like, yes. And she was like, I feel like you get that often. Do you get that often? Like, you seem like a really great person to talk to, and just so comfortable. And I never noticed it. And when she said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do get that often, and I never really realized it, but I've always been open. I'm always, willing to talk. But the fact of the matter is that I was put in a position of what it looked like an inconvenience, because we're sitting at the bar and we want to sit at a table and be across from each other. And, we didn't have that, but it gave me the opportunity to talk to her and encourage her. And we laughed together. And she was like, you made my shift so much better. And I'm like, what? Yes. And that's all the time. I'm like, but I was put in a position and I was given the words to talk directly to her, to talk right to her heart. I was able to relate. And, that's what Deborahs do. And wherever we are, I was like, wherever we are, we are put in a position where we're going to be able to give them, but we got to stay connected. Like, we have to stay connected to where our wisdom comes from. Right. We have to stay connected to where our knowledge comes from, and it's not just the books. Okay. There really are supernatural downloads that absolutely happen in our quiet times, when we're resting, when we're sleeping. All right. But we have to be seeking that, and we have to operate in it. And we shouldn't be too shy to speak up. We shouldn't be so shy to share. Like, let's share, let's open up. But these are the things that when we are operating in what we were called to do, which is be Deborah, that is what we will get. All right. She says in here, you will know the things you aren't supposed to know, things you haven't even studied. He will give you this wisdom by inspiration. By inspiration. And if you ever notice, like, if you don't have a degree in something, but like, I don't have no degree, but I got this. You know what I mean? I ain't got a degree, but I got that. You know what I mean? Like, we understand understand it, right? And I'm like, because God really does give us the wisdom. He really gives.
How you get that? God, stop playing. I'm this or
I know. Like, I can't even take the credit.
I did not.
I mean, it was my 3 a.m. session. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe that's what it was. But, she brings it all together and she just says, we are the ones, Deborah's, and I'm saying we.
She said good night. Did she say?
Good night, Lenora. Thank you. She talks about, it says Deborah's who will, in this hour, God is raising up modern day Deborahs who will administrate the justice, of the Lord. We will administrate justice with the heart of a servant leader. And she keeps bringing it back to that servant leader who listens to others to help restore personal value. We will be women who listen and advise according to the heart and mind of God. Okay. She talks about we will have an understanding heart to discern justice. We're going to stand up for what's right in our capacity, where we're able to do and how we're able to do it. Okay. We will have our ears open. Okay. We're going to watch our tongues and we're going to walk in the wisdom that the Spirit that gives us so that we can bring about change to our sphere of influence. And that's what this whole thing, like, we are here to bring about change. Things should not stay the same when we step into the room. Mm-hmm. Things should not stay the same when we step up, whatever it is that we're called to. When we step up in the building, things should not stay the same. They should not stay the same. So, that was I feel like I talked too much. So I said too much, but those were the things that were really, that stood out in chapter 2. Ladies, is there anything else before we close down until next week, where we will do chapter 3, where we are talking about Deborah, the mother, that we missed, that is like, oh, this is, we didn't talk about this. We need to say this, at least mention it. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that we're missing? I know we talked about servant leader. We talked about how we're going to function, how, we need to bring compassion back, have an ear to hear the whole story, even the things that's not being said, operating in supernatural wisdom, stepping on the scene to change some things.
If anything, I just want to always end in encouraging people just to, like, even if you don't know your purpose fully, like, the good thing and the great thing about God is that He will put us in the place of purpose. Like, we don't even know that even right now, because I think sometimes we put too much emphasis on that word sometimes. Mm-hmm. We don't know that we're walking in purpose right now. Yes. Like, right at this moment, we're walking in purpose.
Every experience, yes.
Yes, and even with your story, Melissa, like, you didn't know that was going to happen.
No,
God aligned it, and when you trust Him, when you look at Him, when you focus on Him, when you dive into His Word, when you are in a place of just like, I want to do what you want me to do, God, it'll just align. And we don't have to take a quiz, and we don't have to do. And it's good to know those things about you. I'm not saying that, because I've took many quizzes. Like, what's my passion? What's my strengths? What's my weakness? It's good to know those things as well. But also, at some place, I think I was just like purpose. Like, what's purpose that I wasn't living in the moment.
Yes.
I was trying to do in the moment.
Yes.
We can miss that if we're just so gun-ho on purpose and what our strategy should be. And I'm not saying it's nothing wrong with creating strategy and planning and visions. Those are great. But you don't have to fear or fret, because even if you're not aligned with God, ask Him, He will get you aligned. It will come together. It will come together. It always does when you're talking about God. So be encouraged. Purpose will be knocking on your door. You're living in purpose.
Exactly.
You're living in purpose right now.
Yes, you really are. And that's the thing. I think that sometimes we do get wrapped up in identifying it. Well, everything that you are going through You already in it. It's the process of your purpose.
Yep.
Maybe you didn't give it a name yet. Maybe you can't fully identify, but it's gonna have its name. So you, like she says, fret not, because that's gonna make it worse. Like that's gonna make it worse.
Fret not. It's gonna be all right. Get some sleep. Get some rest. Come on, he will download it every time. Yes, Stacey.
Yes. And thank you for sharing it, Kavina. I'm so glad you did, because I don't even like. It's funny. I was telling Franny, I'm like, I need another word. I don't want to use that word purpose. It's just so overly used. I need another word. I'm like, no, I'm so glad that you brought that up. Thank you. Very good. Very good. All right, ladies.
That was beautiful.
So, it was, and we got to do 3, and we're gonna
do it again next week.
We're gonna do better next time. We're gonna keep it at the 60 minutes, y'all. It was too much. Oh,
she went over.
We went over.
It wouldn't be Melissa if you didn't.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you don't want to be boxed. We don't want to box the end. Don't box the end.
With a muzzle next week.
Don't box the end.
Don't box the end. Like Lenora, she don't want to be boxed in.
Oh my gosh. But thank you all for tuning in. We will absolutely see you next week for our part 4 of our Deborah Anointing series. I hope you were able to get something out of this. And we will see you next week. Have a great night, and thank you for staying logged in with us.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.